All right. Hey, given an excuse me, Mike, I just can't spit it out this morning, but I'm going to spit it out here. Given that an astounding 90% of traders find themselves on the losing end, in other words, they're losing traders, it's essential to ask a very simple question. Is rampant market manipulation causing this? Can the everyday investor truly level the playing field? And today, Mike and I are going to dive deep into the underbelly of the financial market to reveal and uncover how you, the retail investor, can not only survive, but also thrive in a system that seems stacked against you. So good morning, Mike.
Yeah, good morning, Dennis.
So, wow, what a way to, open the day, and we'll jump into the second. But as people are joining us, I understand you had an absolutely fantastic weekend. You went down to Arkansas for one of your to celebrate the first communion of one of your. Was it first communion or Christmas?
Yeah, first communion of my godson Gideon.
Oh wow, what a great name!
Yeah, sure is.
Gideon, one of the big heroes in history. Wow. So
absolutely.
So how old is Gideon?
Gideon's 7.
7. So have you had to talk with him about the meaning of his name? And who Gideon was?
No, well, we haven't gotten into that, but we went down to Arkansas for the first communion. I found out after the fact that he's in Cub Scouts, and his dad is one of the Cub Scout leaders. So we end up giving him this compass. The points. It's God's compass. This thing is called, and it had a little inscription of one of the Psalms, and it was pointing north, and north was towards God. So we thought that was kind of cool.
That is so cool. And so I'm just leaving a note for everybody out there. Wherever you're watching from, just let us know where you're watching from. So, well, what about this topic, Mike? I mean, this is it's something that people don't. Well, like I'll give you an example. This past weekend, I was checking out into some of the reasons the 90% of traders fail. And the reasons why are actually some emotional and beliefs that are subconscious. They don't even recognize they're having these beliefs. They jump into wanting to learn how to trade and all that kind of stuff, and they don't realize they're getting whacked upside the head, and they basically fail because of that. But rampant market manipulation. I mean, is there such a thing?
Hey, you know what? Let's say that there is, right? Okay. I would go on to say too that that most of the things here, right? This whole list here, with things like fake news coming out on both like traditional media as well as on social media, lots of misinformation to try to pump a stock.
Right.
Different types of rumors, even as far as manipulating analytic reports, right? Or sometimes you'll have a stock and it's performing well, and then all of a sudden they decide to release earnings early, a couple of weeks early. That happened with I think SMCI.
Yeah.
And of course it ended up taking off. And move it. If you held the stock, you did very well. If you were short the stock, I feel bad for you. But there's all sorts of manipulation that can take place, and so when people are trying to figure out, well, how do we get around this manipulation? Let me try to go and find the latest story. Well, it's you're going to the source, to one of the sources that's trying to manipulate you to find out information.
Right.
So in there, that seems contradictory. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go look at the news to find out information. Well, that's not really the kind of information that can help us make money. Maybe it can tell us a story or something, but or tell us maybe why somebody else that's less educated might be making decisions, but we can there's other stories that can be told, and I think that those stories, and I think that you and I agree, are the story that the market itself is telling us.
I agree with, yeah, I do. I agree with that. We're going to get into that, those aspects. But you said something very interesting. You said people, now I'm assuming you're talking about investors and or traders. You said people who are less educated
Right.
will turn to certain news outlets, or because there's the financial news, right? I remember when I first started trading, I would turn to what was it? It wasn't MSNBC. What was it? CNBC or something like that was the
Mhm.
financial network with Maria Bartoloma on there and all that kind of stuff. Went many years ago,
Mhm.
but the news was always very excitable.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, especially they'd always hype companies that were getting ready to have earnings, and I know that at that time it stimulated my emotions where, oh man, they're gonna have great earnings and all that kind of stuff, and I'd want to buy. One of the worst times in the world to be buying is like right before earnings, from in my humble
Mm.
opinion, and also my long experience. That's a terrible time to be buying a stock right before earnings. However, the networks, the financial networks would basically, have some, very handsome or good looking person on the talking head, and they would be talking up that stock and having the CEO on or the CFO on, spilling, painting such an illustrious picture, and that it did influence me. Now, do you think they did that on purpose?
Um, uh, yes, but what's the motivation? So I think that part of the motivation, well, let's just say that there's some sort of sinister motivation that they want to try to manipulate people to put their money to work in a certain direction,
Okay.
right? So let's assume that that's there. But from the news outlet perspective, part of their motivation is eyeballs. And so,
Okay.
but a long time ago, I was having a conversation with a coworker. Because we were both kind of fed up with the news. It's like, yeah, I wish that they would just come up with a show called Just the Facts, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you could watch it for probably 2 minutes, get just the facts, and be on with the rest of your day. Now
Right
that would
on.
be fantastic, but what kind of ratings is this thing going to get? Is it going
Yeah.
to maintain attention? Well, probably not.
Yeah.
Or if it's
Yeah.
gonna be just on a loop, right? Just the same 2 minutes over and over and over again on a television show, that's not going to work out very well. So how are they going to maintain attention? Sensationalize things, fear mongering. Like these are the kinds of psychological triggers that will just keep you watching.
Yeah.
And if you continue to watch, you are their currency. The attention is the currency. And so that's how they're able to get more eyeballs and sell more ad revenue. And that was true for traditional media. It's true for social media now.
Without a doubt, that aspect you said, get more eyeballs, is very interesting. The link, though, because who are the majority of sponsors for the financial networks?
Yeah, well,
The
you have,
brokerage houses, right?
of course.
A lot of, well, the brokers, the mutual fund companies, those type of thing. And so clearly, I mean, it's been a long time ploy. We're talking back into the Jesse Livermore time, where there was was it Lotharius? I don't know. But the thing about it is getting traders to trade more
Mhm.
benefits the brokerage houses, right? I mean, because that way they get more commissions, they get more, this type of thing. And so from the get-go, they've been trying to do that. And we see that continuing on in the financial networks, which never, it'd be interesting to do a little study to find out what was there before the financial networks. We had the Wall Street Journal, but I think didn't they have financial networks on the radio news? I'm gonna have to check that out. I bet they did.
I would imagine that, and then the printing press, and then just going over to your next door neighbor. Hey, what are you buying? Oh, I heard that tulips are on sale and they're going up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so that gets into, as you said, fake news. And so sometimes I wonder, is it really fake news, or one of the things I've been taking a course about, YouTube from a YouTube coach, right, to learn how to do better YouTube. And one of the things she talks about is one of the things that they do on YouTube is to make the thumbnail, your picture that you put on the YouTube thing, to make the title of that very compelling. You want to make it controversial sometimes so that you get eyeballs onto your YouTube channel. I mean, it's just a fact of life. And it's something that's been worked. It's been, it's worked for years and years and years. And it's just a repeatable thing on a different side, different scale. But as you mentioned, fake news, misinformation from social media, let's see, rumor mongering, manipulating analytical or the analytics on the reports, brokerage house subsidizing financial networks. That's the one that it really, that was just talking about. And then actions that brokers take to stimulate trading activities. Okay. And a lot of times what we'll see there is the brokers will employ strategies such as lowering trading fees temporarily, offering bonuses for trading, or providing leverage trading type of options to encourage more transactions, because they get while with stocks, the majority of brokerage houses now have zero fees, right? They have zero commission. Right. But we know that they're getting some kind of a fee from those. There's some kind of transaction cost that is associated with that, even though they say zero fees. And but the idea of increasing trading volume is very important to them. And then one of the ones that I like to look at, Mike, is just the historical strategies included things like this. Hold on a second. I'm going to pop over here. I'm going to pop over. Maybe I'm going to pop over here. No, I am going to pop over here. There we go. And back in the day, there we go. Back in the day, there we go.
Oh, the ticker tape.
The ticker tape. And the ticker tapes were put into the bucket shops. The bucket shops back in the early later 1800s, 1900s were, bucket shops were where people went to trade. And they would basically either phone or telegraph in the numbers for the stocks, and they would write them on the big chalkboard, and people would come in and place their trades. At least, I wasn't there, but I was told that. No, but they came and they installed and I was just reading the inscription here on this. Well, this ticker tape machine would provide live updates of the prices at the stock, on the stock market from the pits. So people were elevated in the number of the amount of information that they had. But I was noticing here that this is this was furnished by Western Union, and I hope you can, maybe you can't see that, but it says the Edison stock ticker. Isn't it funny that Thomas Edison had something to do with the stock ticker? That's something to blow my mind. And this came out in 1870. It was used for about 80 years for receiving stock. But what the brokerage houses and the bucket shops found is when the patrons, the traders, had access to this amount of live information, it actually increased the amount of trades they would do. So very quickly, the the uh, the bucket shops and the brokerage houses started
Oh,
installing these across America, across the
oh,
United
sure.
States, to basically drive up the volume, which makes a heck of a lot of sense.
Sure,
And so,
the people get that. They feel informed. Then, when they feel informed, they feel more confident.
yeah, and so yeah, it's just really really interesting. Um, I would throw out, and here we go. Let's get back out of that, and we'll go back to our side by side. I would throw out that some of the things that are done by the media actually appeals to the uninformed. It appeals to sometimes the greed and fear factor, and also
Ah, okay.
false information.
Oh,
If you're told something you want to believe, even if it's not necessarily true, it can be disastrous to your trading account, right?
yeah, so the ticker tape was meant to inform people. And so they received the quotes and then they felt informed, they took action. That was observed. So
Right.
what can we do to inform people more? And so that evolution took place. So now you have the news outlets. So they're informing the public, right? Quote unquote informing the public. Well, what how do we but if you have a handful of people that are informing the public, then that's okay because all the attention's there. But now you start to have other areas and everybody's starting to compete for that same attention. So, now I'm providing information and other people are providing information. How do I get the attention? Because there's only so much attention to go around. Well, I
Mm,
could sit here and read a financial statement. I could say earnings went up 25% and quarter over quarter. Or I could say, can you believe that earnings are up 25%? This stock is going to the moon. The projections,
yeah, yeah,
the products, all this. And if I start saying it excited like that, that's going to get much more attention, even though I'm using similar words than the person that's just sitting there and reading the data.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
which one is going to help you make more money, or may it make us that are trying to trade make more money? Being
Well,
in an excited state or being in a calm state?
that's a great question. I almost think that, and we'll hit on this. I almost think that we have to find a way to not be dependent on the news, not dependent on whether the guy's reading in a boring way or somebody's reading in an excited way. That it really doesn't matter. But the I mean, human nature, people want to know they always want to know the why. Why is it going up? I mean, you shared it. Oh, share that story, about Kava this past weekend. You were down there with your buddy in Arkansas talking about Kava. I mean, that's a perfect example. I mean, of
Oh, sure,
of
sure. So we're
because
talking
both,
about it. Why
and
don't we bring up the chart?
okay, hold on a second. I'll bring up the chart.
Or am I able to share a screen, or do you
You
want to
should
do
be able
this?
to.
Let's
I
see.
don't know.
Oh yeah, look at that. I can.
Okay, but I can't see it yet.
All right.
Okay,
So
okay.
I'm sharing. You just need to pop it over. Okay. So here's Kava.
Right.
Right. So I started a position in Kava on Thursday, April 25th, when
Okay.
it had this positive outside reversal and it closed just above the Tuesday's high here. Now, the reason why I was even interested in this stock in the first place is because it passed my screens, and I screen for things that growth stocks tend to have: high earnings, high sales, high
Right.
ROE, high growth rate, all those kinds of things. That's what put it on the radar to begin with. And the reason why I'm interested in those things is because historically, those elements tend to be a good place to go fishing for stocks that could move several 100%.
Right on.
And
Right
not
on.
all of them do, but there's a larger percentage of them that have the capability to have a huge move. So that's how it gets onto the list. Now, something else that I've observed and that I've learned from people like William O'Neill and Nicholas Darvis, Mark Minervini, and many others throughout time, are certain patterns that develop
Right.
over time. And so I've trained myself how to just spot these patterns on the chart, right? So the price action, the price and the volume, and the reason why price and volume become important are because those are the represent the actions that are actually happening. Right? Like, so this is earlier you and I were talking about asking the right question, right? People want to know why when they should want to
Yeah.
know what.
Yeah. But Mike, what I really want people to hear, okay,
Hmm.
because this is all great stuff. I mean, but what I really want people to hear right now is your conversation. What was your
Oh yeah, yeah,
conversation?
yeah. Thank you. So Jarek and I, Jarek is Gideon's father.
Okay.
Yeah, asked us to be the godparents. So we're driving along, and we happen to pass a kava, and I'd never seen a kava. Well, we don't have kavas over here in Long Island, but they have it
Well,
over there in Arkansas. So we passed
what
one.
what is a kava?
Uh, you know what? To be quite honest with you, I knew that it was a restaurant because it was in the restaurant group, but I didn't know what kind of food or anything that they sold. So
Okay.
apparently, they sell Mediterranean food.
Okay, cool. Because
And it's like
what
a fast food kind of, almost like a Chipotle, but
okay,
Mediterranean instead of Mexican.
Roger that.
Right. So that's what they do. And so we're driving past this, and I mentioned to him like, "Oh, I have stock in that," and he's like, "Yeah, how's it doing?" "Oh, well, it's up about 20% or so in a week." Like, "Oh, yeah, well, why do you think it did that? Do you think that did it they have some new ingredient or what's going on? Why?" And I told him, "Well, the answer is very simple: more buyers and sellers."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's it, it highlights well, why is this one moving, why is that one moving? Like the real answer is really just as simple as that, right? Like it sounds very flippant, even more
Yeah.
buyers than sellers.
Yeah.
Well, what's driving price
Right.
at any given time?
Well, I think, and we chatted about that a little bit earlier today also, is that basically, you know, because we got into Kava last week and we just hit our first 10%. It's up 13% from when we bought it last Thursday. And it looks like it's going to continue to climb very nicely. Very pleased with that. So, but I'm already taking, we're already taking some profits off at 10% and that type of thing. Because we traded the pullback in, after it made its initial move, we traded that pullback. But
Underneath.
the yeah, right there. The thing that it is what brought Kava to the surface was, as you said earlier, was the fundamentals. Okay, it had strong, really great fundamentals, good earnings, expected, future earnings, the relative strength, and everything was looking good. And from a technical standpoint, it met the criteria of a stock that could go on to be a huge winner, right? And
Right.
so and so and so I come back to what you said is that a lot of retail traders and investors, they want to know the why. I mean, just they want to know the why did this happen? And part of it's human nature. However, I think that if you want to become a great trader and a great investor, you have to stop asking the why question and start
Yeah,
asking the what, when, and where question, which is exactly what you did when you did your analysis of, it did your analysis, fundamental analysis of Kava, and then took it to the charts. What, when, and where to explain where I want to take action. And it's action based rather than, because why is not really action based. Why is knowledge based. Does that make sense?
yeah, it does make sense. And the part of it too, I think it is, when you had when you understand part of the history of how things move, right? Well, when you have a context of, why does price move how it moves, and then you do the historical research, and you could see that, oh well, stocks that have great fundamentals tend to be the better pool to fish in, and then there's
Right.
certain patterns that repeat over time, and sometimes they work out great like this, but sometimes they don't. But if
Right.
you make yourself available for them, then when they work, you're able to make 4 or 5 times your money, sometimes 10 times your money, right? For
Right
what you
on.
risk.
Right on.
Sometimes they don't work, right? Like here's one that I took the other day too, right? And so this one I got in on the
What is
same
that?
day and took some profits quickly, and then sold the rest over here at break even.
Yeah. What is
That's
that?
Sweet Green, right? Similar pattern,
Mike, what is
different
that
result.
stock? I can't see the ticker.
Oh, Sweet Greens, ticker SG.
Okay. Sweet Dreams?
Sweet Greens.
Oh, Sweet Green.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Sweet Green. Similar pattern, right? If I turn off the pattern, the recognition here, right?
Yeah.
The
Right
same
on.
U shape, right? Very similar to what Kava did. Just this part here where it came down and it starts to make the U-turn, right?
Right on.
One went up, the other one went down.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
how do you make money on this? Well, you can have rules that. So the rules found this, and then you could have additional rules for how to manage it.
Yeah. Well, again, it gets back to your rules answer the what, when, and where questions, right?
Right.
So I
Exactly.
love it.
And the why ends up being about this much,
Yeah.
right? And the why could be so many different things. For us, it's historically based.
Yes. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I find very interesting is that, when we get back to the aspect of what are you listening to? If you're a trader, what are you listening to? And can I show something really
Sure,
quick?
sure. Yeah, let me stop this screen share and you could take over.
There we go. And so actually I've got this little thing where you could have left that up, but that's okay. Anyway, here's a couple of tips, and then we're going to get into actually the emotional side of what the fake news, what all this information, what kind of emotional triggers it's trying to trigger with you, so you can be on guard to make sure it doesn't happen. So one of the things to do, Mark Douglas talks about learn to be an observer without making judgment of what's going on. That is a skill that takes time to develop. And so one of the things you can do is practice that skill of observing without making judgment. Look at the headlines. And there's a couple of, I like to use Investor Business Daily. Investor Business Daily of tends to not, tends to be a little bit more toned down and how they do their headlines. However, I think with the advent of AI, a lot of the headlines, and I'm not saying that their headlines are written by AI, but they can put in a certain tone, style, and that kind of stuff. And I think we're getting a lot more of these like this. AI, this IBD 50 logistic leader sales look to soar 90%. So words in there like AI powers this IBD 50 logistic AI powers. Big, powerful word. And then you get over here, soars. Again, a big, powerful word and meant to get an emotional reaction from you. Yahoo Finance and then some of the other finance basically is a little bit more titillating. I've been waiting all day to be able to say that word. But anyway, you're turning red, Mike. Anyway, but take a look at it. Robinhood gets SEC warning as crypto crackdown continues. I mean, it sounds ominous. Apollo CEO, which I don't know who Apollo's CEO is from Adam, but clearly it must be very important that he's saying a soft landing for the economy has been achieved. Doesn't that make you feel all warm and cuddly? Then NVIDIA is the missing link to strong earnings. Take a look at the various. Here's another one. This is an important one. Starbucks founder, after they had a really crappy earnings report and fell hard, Starbucks owner Schultz says company needs to refocus on coffee as sales struggle. So interesting because what they were focusing on was a lot of other cultural things that didn't have a daggum thing to do with coffee. And I really don't care because you know what happens is it all shows up in the chart. And before we talk about that, I want to show you one, I think the best and most classic example of a company that was pumped up in the media is Enron back in the early 2000s. It was a company that started back in 1985, but around 1990, they created a new. What's that?
Are you able to zoom in on that image a little bit more?
We'll see. I can, but I don't know. Let's see. Zoom. Let me see. Oops. No, that wasn't the right button. Let's see here. Zoom. I'm trying to. Oh, I got it. I can do it.
There we go.
There you go. I learned something. I learned something new. It's been a successful day. How to use Control Plus into Zoom. But what happened is between 1996 and 2001, 6 times on Fortune's list of America's most innovative companies. Okay, that was what was going on in the news. However, it was during that 1996 to 2001 that all of a sudden it gets hinky. And when I say gets hinky, what I'm talking about is those of you who know the story, I'll let you can go and check the story out yourself. But there we go. As you can see, things really got funky up here. Well, take a look at a chart of Enron. Go look one up. And what you'll see is these were the clues that if somebody had been just watching the charts, this crap over here, excuse me, yeah, I'm sorry, a lot of people were hurt with it, but this stuff over here didn't really matter. It was what was going on over here, the what, when, and where, and not the why. You know what I'm saying? Because once prices started to put in this head and shoulders pattern, it was basically saying, get the heck out of Dodge at about $64. You didn't have to take the elevator ride all the way down there. Unfortunately, from the illegal side of it is the management of Enron was requiring that their employees invest in the company with their 401ks, making that the only vehicle available. And so part of the good that came out of the Enron crash is that I don't think companies can do that anymore. I think they've changed the rules where they have to provide their employees more choices on what they can put their 401ks in. And if you know any different, please drop a note in the comment section to let us know that you can fog a mirror out there. And so anyway, that right there was the clue. And let me pop over for one last thing, Mike, and then we'll jump over into the how do we fix this? Let me see if I have that other one. I do. I'm going to pop this over here. And this isn't the actual chart of this. And I'll blow this up a little bit too. And as you can see, this was an excellent looking chart. But as you can see, there is a line in the sand here. And when it was broke, that multiple head and shoulders pattern around the $63 mark, if you were investing in this, this was a classic failure. Did we know this was going to happen? No, we did not. But the chart tells us get out of Dodge right here. And if it is the great company that they say it is, we would know when to get back in. So that's the essence of, rather than why, focus on the when, what, when, and where. So great study if you're looking for, to look at charts that fail. maybe I'll do a video on that, charts that fail, and we'll talk about Enron.
Well,
what do you think? What?
Yeah, I think that would be a great study. I'm actually kind of curious about how you think the chart of Enron compares to the chart of SMCI.
Well,
right about now.
We can always take a real quick look at SMCI. And part of the thing is, guys, is
it's like, well, how do you compare this stuff?
Well, I don't think there really is a okay. Let's just take a real quick look at SMCI. Can everybody see that? I'm going to roll this over here. I'm going to take a look at now the SMCI. I recognize that's a newer stock, came open in February of 2023. And right now we're just in the early stages. I have to treat this is a monthly chart here. I have to treat it with indication that it's still on its way up. I can draw in a couple of here. We've got a really nice longer term, trend line here. And so that, let's say I'm going to make that my trend line basis. As long as that uptrend right there isn't broken long term, that provides me one clue. Roll over here to the weekly chart. There it is. So what are we getting? Yeah, we had a really huge takeoff here. We're getting a pullback. Is the pullback out of the ordinary? And the answer to that is no, because right here, this is what I call my magic fib box. That is the retracement from, and I'll show you where my retracement is, from that high there down to, I want to say that low, yeah, right there. Approximately, yeah, that low right there. Where's that low? One of the two. So that would represent a 38 to a 618 retracement. There's a 50 in the middle, and so it is operating in that range. So at this point, Mike, I wouldn't compare this to Enron at all. This is just a strong stock that's getting a natural pullback according to not only Fibonacci's, but also Charles Dow. Charles Dow noticed it back in the 1800s that strong stocks after a run up will tend to pull back between a third to 2/3. That's the Fibonacci box. So what happens now? Well, if we break this level, let me get rid of the fib real quick. Remove that. If we break this level right here, and that is at the 671 level, we break that, then it changes the structure, changes the picture. However, we've got this uptrend line here that could catch it. Does that make sense?
So we're not in Enron territory yet.
I don't think we're in Enron territory. No. As a matter of fact, I think it's basically kind of a healthy pullback at this point. Anybody else see it differently out there in YouTube land or Facebook, wherever you're joining from? And anybody over on X, let us know, because I know there's a lot of great traders over there on X. So, hey, Michael, as we're getting ready to kind of like slow things down, or not slow things down, let me go back over here. So, in the areas of like fake news, misinformation, rumor mongering, which is like misinformation, manipulations, what emotions do those factors of news manipulation, what emotions do they affect, and what steps can we be taking to counteract those?
Well, part of it could be a big sense of urgency, right? Like you see something really exciting pop up on the news or in your feed, and this stock is moving, and maybe the first inclination, even if it's not to run out and take an immediate action, you might want to take an immediate action to buy or to sell. You might want to immediately go and check things, see the chart or something like that before even doing that in an excited state. Maybe you want to have some sort of a routine. I like to have a warm-up routine.
What do you mean? What do you do Pilates or something?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm ready to trade.
Not like that, right? But it's very similar, because just like how you could pull a muscle if you don't warm up before you exercise, you could also blow up your account if you don't warm up before you trade.
Okay.
So how can we warm up our mental state before we start to trade? Well, some of the things that I like to do are one, first is pray. And I'm not praying that like, oh, I hope that this trade works out. Yeah, just reciting. I'm Catholic, and so I'll recite the Our Father, Hail Mary, and the
Right
Glory
on.
Be. Sometimes I'll read something from Scripture. Then after that, now that my mind is focused on where it should be, that I could go and I'll read my trading rules. And it's good to have some trading rules that you could fit on an index card. We had an exercise with our group just the other day. Can you get your rules onto an index card without writing them in a 5-point font?
Okay.
And one of the things that presupposes too is that, well, if you're able to get your rules, if you're able to condense your rules down, it's not trying to oversimplify them. It's taking something that's complex, that's very well thought out, and like, well, what are the key components?
Yeah.
Right. Well, the managing risk, right? Like risking a certain amount per trade, where if you risk more than this, that you're not in danger of blowing up. Trading, making sure that you have an entry for your trade, making sure that you have an exit, pre-planning all these kinds of things. And then part of the warm-up too, so reviewing rules, the basic rules, the index card rules, and then also reading the management plan and the analysis that's done beforehand. So that way, well, when I'm going into the market and I'm seeing, well, I just heard this news, so let me go run it. And now I've got that context instead of the context of the analysis that I did and the plans that I already had. So I'll go and reread, well, here's the analysis that I did last night. Oh, well, the market's, let's say, chopping around a little bit. I didn't really see too many setups, so I should be a little bit more conservative. Okay, great. Well, what are the plans that I had for any trades I was thinking about taking or trades that I had open? Okay, I was going to plan to sell into strength here, cut a loss there. All right. Then I'm able to, with that framework, I'm able to go take a look and see how things are shaping up. But if I come into the market in that excited state that the news might have put me in, now I'm disjointed and I might make a poor decision. So that's why it's
Okay.
important to warm up first and have a warm-up routine and then get involved.
Okay. So what about the concept of, because basically news can drive a whole lot of different emotions, and including, of course, fear, anxiety. We can. I heard an interesting quote yesterday, and oh, fear is not. It basically was stated that fear isn't wrong per se; it's just illogical. Well, most fear is just illogical, and it's not because it's not based on reality. It's based on
Mm,
what's going on up here, yeah? And
right.
so being able to get past that, recognize that, and having some and you made a comment in several one of our sessions some time ago that if you recognize you are afraid, talk to the fear. Find out what the heck are you doing here? Why are
Mm,
what this is a good place to ask the question of why, why am I afraid? What's driving it? Um, um, can I don't know if a person can actually get down to where they are totally trading mechanically without having some sort of emotional response. But I think that part of the deal is if a person has really good rules and they're, based on mechanical things happening, and they pledge to obey their rules come hell or high water, that in turn allows them to weather the storm and go through the testing, because the market will
mhm,
test you. It will test your mettle when it comes to how how not convicted, how well, yeah, convicted is the right word, but how committed am I to obeying my rules and respecting myself? Ooh, respecting my
mm,
will, because I want to do well. But if I'm going all willy-nilly and going emotional, that kind of stuff, that shoots that down. That basically is not respecting me. It's not respecting my wife, who basically wants me to do well in the market also. And the other, it's not respecting my kids, my grandkids, who I'm trying to develop a legacy of wealth building for them.
mhm.
And so I know that's a little bit heavy, but the dots all connect. The dots all connect from my perspective. And so, anyway, so let's see what else we got here. We have ways we can basically educational awareness, critical analysis. So we've talked about that. Emotional discipline. I just hit on other areas. Anything else that goes into this?
I think that when it comes to the news and social media and uh, rumors and even analytical reports uh, and all these things, I think that if you have some sort of a system that you're trading, uh, then that'll help provide you with the framework that's necessary to win, right? Because if you develop a system and the purpose of the system is to win, then you bake that in to your
Okay.
system. So you could bake whatever you want into your system. If you say I have to listen to the news and I need to listen to social media and I need to listen to all the different rumors and read all the analyst reports, and that's a part of your system, and you've tested your system and that produces a win for you, then
Mm,
great, do it. But if you have a system and none of those things are a part of it, then it shouldn't influence anything that you do as far as trading goes.
Okay.
So the system that I have, like social media and news and analyst reports, all that, none of that's a part of it. So I'm not looking at any of those things. So that's why when my buddy and I drove past Kava, when he said, "Why is it going up?" Well, my answer wasn't, "Oh, well, I heard in the news that the CEO just made a deal with so and so, and that's why it's going up," or
Right.
something like that.
Yeah. And so, yeah, man, that's awesome. The gosh, just for me, it's the being prepared to trade, as you stipulated. Because I go through kind of I wouldn't call it's a routine. It's part of my routine. Also, I start every morning. Again, I start the same way you do. I start with something from the Bible. I start with a verse. I start with I commune with my Creator first. That's
Mhm.
that, and that gets me set for the rest of the day, and also I think levels me out emotionally,
Mhm.
because I know that I'm not in control, but I know who is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then from there, it's just building blocks through the rest of the day. So here's a couple of things that I do. And you mentioned it earlier also, Mike, is I don't listen to financial news anymore. I do not. I will go through, I do not necessarily go through the news, even the print news or the online news, uh, once a day. I do not do that. I basically have shut it down because, in my 30 years of learning how to read the charts and the amount of simulated trades I've done, is I can go back and trade the S&P all the way back to 1929, to the great crash, and technically trade all the way, knowing something happened to cause it to go back into a rally, or something happened to make it go back into a crash, but not have to know what the reasons why, or know why that happened. I don't have to know that in order to trade successfully, because that's what my system's based off of, is that kind of back testing. And so I know you mentioned you've shut you said 10 years. You have not been manipulated or influenced by the financial news for at least 10 years, right?
Yeah, somewhere between 10 and 15 years. Oh, well, when I first found O'Neill, and I started to learn his style and Can Slim, for a while I was reading IBD every day, and so that was the only news that I had. But even they're trading based off of his system. And then eventually, well, when my trading started to get very close to what they were saying in the paper, and I was able to make a market call and it would be the same as what their market call was, then that's when I had graduated to a point where, okay, I'm reading what's happening in the market. The market's actually speaking to me and I'm able to listen and interpret this well enough. So that's the point where I'm at now, and I don't need to listen to anything else.
Right on, right on. So, yeah, what I found is that every person is allocated a certain amount of energy on a daily basis. In other words, and
A certain
we
amount.
have
That's interesting. Well, but yeah, what do you mean?
and we have a choice on where we spend our energy.
Mm,
And so, um, and the focus, because every time we focus on something, we're expending energy. Every
mhm.
time I answer a question for somebody who wants to know why, if I choose to answer that, I'm expending energy. And so learn to, part of the deal is, I think, is to learn to basically steward your energy levels, so that what you'll have enough energy at the end of the day for the things that are really important, things like family, friends,
Yeah.
and all of that type of stuff. Working out, because working out takes energy, right? And your family, your spouse, your kids, your grandkids, and having enough energy at the end of the day to spend some of that capital, that energy capital, on them, and at the same time, um, spend time thinking, thinking about what you've been doing, how else, and in visualizing your trading. Spend a little time. Not it doesn't have to be an hour or 2 hours, but if you spend 15 minutes envisioning what a perfect setup is, and you commit to do that for 30 days, I'll promise you, you will become a better trader. I will promise you, you will become a better trader. And matter of fact, I could almost guarantee it. um, however, it's a matter of the will, and saying, I will do this. Not I want to do this, not, well, I might do it, or yeah, sound like a good idea, but I will follow a process to get better, become a master trader, and then proceed from there. So that's my one more last word. I know that we have Jeremy Newsom coming on the 20th. I'm really excited to have Jeremy coming on to the session. I know that we're in the process of getting lined up. I don't know if you've heard back from Patrick.
Yeah, Pat Walker was saying that he's interested in coming on the show. We're still working out dates with Patrick. So, Patrick, if you're listening, looking forward to having you on.
Well, excellent. And then Mike Webster also said, that sounds interesting to come on. And so that's well, 3 great guests that will spread out over the next little bit. And so, Mike, you have the final word, man. Take us home.
Yeah. So, let's see. So, well, what's all this fake news or rumor mongering or misinformation? Does any of that stuff really matter? I think that what matters is not the why, but the what, and for us to pay attention to what's happening, and when we pay attention to what's happening, we're able to develop a plan for how to capitalize on it. And then we're able to benefit from what's happening without having to know necessarily the why. And a long time ago, I was listening to an interview with Jim Rohn, and Jim Rohn was a motivational speaker back in the day, and he was saying, why does spring come after winter? And why does winter come after fall? And why does fall come after summer? And he's like, well, I wouldn't take that class. When you have your own planet, you could, rearrange it however you want. But here, that's the way that the seasons fall, and we're able to benefit from it. But why does it happen that way? It doesn't really matter. So don't spend time worrying about some things that sometimes it's just the way that it is, and you're able to benefit from it. Same thing with a car. You could drive a car without being an engineer.
Right on. And so, and you basically triggered a thought in my mind, and it's just basically is, the charts you showed a little bit earlier at Kava and all that kind of stuff. You followed your rules. You took the action you were supposed to take. And then once you take the action you were supposed to take, then it's a matter of you've placed yourself in a position to win. So it's a matter of figuring out how to put, for all the traders out there that we're talking to, it's a deal of figure out a method, a mechanical way to put yourself in the way. And you get in the way. You get in the way of big profits. You get in the way of small losses. And your system is what does that for you. So cool. Okay, man. I'm
All
gonna
right.
shut down the stream unless you got something else.
No, that's it. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Dennis. Thanks everybody for listening.
Yep. And we want to say thank you. And there will be some links down in the description. I know Mike puts this up on his YouTube channel. There'll be links down in the descriptions for how to contact Mike, how to contact me. Get on our mailing list. Only to slam that. Get on Mike's mailing list, on my mailing list, because that's, well, if you want
Gotta
magic
say it
to
with a lot of emotion to trigger people.
that's
Get on
right.
the mail.
Because if you if take a positive step and said, I will, just get on to start learning. I will. Stop, hesitating, going, I think I will, blah, blah, blah. Nah. Winners take the action step and say, I will do this. So aloha and God bless everybody.
Right. Take care all.
Hang on, Mike.